Lightning like Steve McQueen, I'm in the fast lane when the light turns green. And I built tough, I ain't nothing but grit, cause I made rugged blood, sweat, and spit. Yeah, like a horse I fly, better push yourself in for a bumpy ride. I like to play hard, but I work harder, and I weather the storm cause I'm built stronger.
What is up, ladies and gentlemen? We are back. We are live. It is the Freight Coach Morning Show, the top morning show in transportation, coming to you every single weekday, 8:30 a.m. Pacific, 10:30 Central, to break down some industry headlines. But we're not breaking down industry headlines today because we are live from the JOC Inland Conference Day 2. I got my man Adam Cunningham here. He's from PortX Logistics, and we're going to talk about some customer strategy here and kind of how to build up those relationships and take those things on. And I do got to start off the show by letting you guys all know I was aware of the audio issues yesterday. Again, I'm a startup. I'm learning all of this stuff. And one thing I learned is at the end of the day, you guys, when you switch between platforms, pay attention because your audio settings sometimes default back. I thought it was in there. Again, I'm learning. I'll own my shit all the time, you guys, as always. Adam's been in business for a long time. Nothing goes perfect, but you know what? We own it and we move on from that point.
Absolutely, man.
Before we get started, I got to give a shout out to my sponsor, you guys, my friends over at VHub. You guys, VHubApp.com. They're the ones who make this show possible every single day for you guys. Access to trailers, whether you're a carrier, broker, or shipper alike. What do we all need? We all need access to trailers at some point in time. And if you're a small carrier, you should never have to shut your operation down due to a trailer being in the shop. And the best part about what VHub has to offer you guys is you get paid to reposition these trailers. So right now they have it over in Paragould, Arkansas, going to Orting, Washington, Paragould, Arkansas to Orting, Washington. You get paid $15.50 to move that trailer, and that's on top of the freight that you can put in the back of that. They also have West Palm Beach, Florida to Messina, New York. Obviously, we know what's going on in Florida right now, but that's available out there. You get $2,000 to do that. Clearfield, Utah to Henderson, Colorado, a reefer, $700 to do that. And then they also have a new one down in Fontana, California, going up to Auburn, Washington, and you get $750 US to do that. Pacific Northwest is going to be popping here pretty soon.
Yeah,
this is going to be a great market to be in. So again, hit them up, VHubApp.com. My friend Stacy Steen, she's already in the audience. Hit her up. Hit up my man Xavier Campos. They'll be able to help you out with everything. Just let them know that the Freight Coach sent you. Sonny Sharma, good fucking morning. Let's go. Zach Williams, what's up, my man? SPI Logistics, you guys. If you want to become a freight agent and take control of your financial future, hit him up, SPI 3PL. Drew Driscoll, what's going on, brother? Let's go. There may or may not be somebody from your company joining us here in a little bit. Nerf, good to see you, man, all the way from Bosnia. Yeah, Vitaly, I appreciate you bringing that up yesterday. I had some audio issues on it, but at least it sounds better today. And yeah, man, Adam Cunningham, thank you for joining me here.
Oh, it's my pleasure, man. It's great to see you in person.
Dude,
huge fan of the show. So happy to be here.
I just slipped him a 20 under the table after he just said he's a huge fan.
That's awesome. I appreciate it. I'll pimp you out all the time, man. This is fantastic.
Dude,
this is absolutely good turnout here at JOC. Great time, good people, just a lot of fun. So it was such a pleasure to see you. So great to be on the show.
Dude, I appreciate you joining me. And Brian's been on the show a couple of times, and you know, it's been great hearing the PortX story as a whole about
Absolutely.
Where you guys started, what you guys are growing into, and where you guys are going to grow into. And a lot of that is kind of like what we were talking about earlier today. It's about customer relationships. It's about we talk about it, and that's kind of been a big focal point here at the conference. A lot of the feedback that I've gotten is they're relying on those relationships now more than ever in the changing freight markets. And for me personally, your approach of what we were talking about earlier, I mean, like, how do you start from the first phone call? You know, because that's where it has to go. It's not when I get the business, it's how do I earn it from the very first point of contact?
Absolutely. And one thing that we talked about that's just absolutely so key is the demonstration of urgency, right? When we're getting that initial contact, that initial phone call, whether it be from social media or whether it be from, just some organic, just an organic lead, it's really how are we treating people and how quickly are we responding? And what does that first email look like? Pleasure to meet you. How are you doing today? How was your weekend? It's just those pleasantries. We like to say that we operate by the golden rule, and it's putting that golden rule into action. It's how does that translate into your day-to-day? Treat people the way that you want to be treated.
Yeah. And, because to me, it's always like in brokerage, especially, man, like we have like seconds, like we can't see an email from a customer, especially one that you've invested so much time
Absolutely.
to get there,
It's a
and
great
then
point.
you can't backburner anybody. And it's not like you have to provide a quote within 30 seconds or anything like that, but you need to acknowledge the fact like, hey, I received it. I'm working on it right now, and I will get back to you.
And it's an expression of gratitude.
Yes.
It really is. I mean, being on the sales end, it was funny. I started my career off on the sales end about 15 years ago, and quickly realized that if I didn't know operations, I couldn't actually successfully sell. So I jumped into operations for about 10 years on the brokerage side and on the asset side. And then I moved back into sales. And when you're selling somebody a bill of goods and you're saying, hey, look, you're going to be treated well, you're going to be viewed as important, we're going to operate with urgency and attention to detail and care. If you're not acknowledging that email and somebody is reaching out to you, it kind of shows that you're not grateful for them reaching out to you.
Yeah.
And it takes a lot of time just from that time of initial blind phone call for them to come back and say, hey, look, I need some help.
Yeah. No, I agree with that, man. And to me, it's something like this, because like we got to earn our customers' freight every single truckload. It's not
Absolutely.
I mean, I'm guilty of this. Is you think like, oh, I'm their top provider, they're just going to give me everything, and that's just not the case. Like your mindset has to be one truckload at a time, all the time. It doesn't matter if you do 1,000 truckloads for somebody.
Hands
You
down.
have to be there for the 1,001st.
Hands down. And it's really an expression of gratitude. And that's the way I look at it, is that we cannot take for granted our customers.
Yes.
And especially in a market like this, that's a little bit softer. We've heard here at the JOC that, we're going to be looking at maybe possibly a shallow recession, and we're seeing spot truckload rates go down, and we're seeing tender acceptance, kind of waver. So we know that right now is the time where you have to invest in your customers' success. And the best way that you do that is to create an experience where they not only feel welcomed, they feel appreciated, and also they feel safe, that you're operating in their best interest all the time.
No, I know. And but Vitaly brings up a good point here. It's like he hears these things all the time, but it's not as consistent as every sales pitch would make it seem. So, and I know you've heard that. You've been in this industry for a long time. How do you recommend somebody goes through those situations? Because again, it is about that consistency. Like everybody sounds great on a sales pitch. And like one thing that I talk about with all of my clients, and I know I've experienced in my career, is like, how do I sit here and continue to make myself different? How do I sit here and consistently show up? And I think like through the good times and the bad times, most importantly, the bad times, that's when you really start to solidify your relationships with customers, because in the first sign of adversity, most people run. Most people, all of a sudden, their emails don't work and their phones won't answer and everything else.
So I can tell you at PortX, what we do differently is we have a chief heart officer, which sounds kind of hokey pokey for a trucking company, a drayage company, to have a chief heart officer. What this chief heart officer does is go over our service level agreements and go over our SOPs, so that when we are working, we have a constant reminder of what we're supposed to be doing.
Okay.
So what she does is she works with everybody on a spirit. She's a counselor. She is a nutritionist. She's a yoga teacher.
I need her number.
Yes. and what she does is she works with our people so that everybody is in alignment, because what stinks is when you're a salesman and you go out and you say, you're going to be treated differently. We're going to operate with urgency. We're going to do this and that, like this gentleman just says. And then when they come through the door, the expectations aren't met. It completely falls flat. So what you need internally is somebody like herself, and what we have is continuous improvement programs, CIPs, and we're constantly shaping and molding and excelling in our success factors. So we need to uphold those promises that we make on the front end, so that when we open the door and they come through the PortX Logistics door, they see that it is something different and the experience is different.
Yeah. And that, and to me, it's like, that takes a lot longer to identify sometimes, because like, again, in today's society, we want instant results. We want everything yesterday. And my whole thing is it's like, we have to keep the open minds of, it's going to take probably 25, 30 shipments to really get a flow.
Sure.
You know, and again, like that's why I want people to attack it as a one shipment at a time mentality with this stuff, because like we need to identify this, because I mean, a lot of shippers out there and receivers out there, they don't have it all figured out either, but that's why they work with partners to help strengthen their operations. That's where the real value add comes in, because I think at times, and this was me early on in my sales career, I was very nervous about a lot. I didn't want to ever shake up the tree or anything like that.
Absolutely.
And then I had a customer of mine actually sit me down. Well, not like over the phone, we were having a conversation like, hey, listen, you got to let us know when things go wrong.
Yeah.
Because if you don't do that, we can never judge the people that we work with. If they're using a third-party warehouse or something like that, because they're like, our product gets negatively reflected in the market if there's excessive wait times, if this is happening or that's happening. And I'm like, holy shit, okay. So that's when I took like that overly transparent approach of,
absolutely,
hey, like, listen, this is what we're seeing at this facility. You don't always have to request attention or anything like that, but like, this is what's going on. I just wanted you to be made aware of it.
Proactive communication
Yes.
is what we are built on. It's what we are founded upon. We have what we like to say is communicate, communicate, communicate. Our goal really as a trucker is to answer the questions before you have a chance to ask. We know that you want to know when the delivery has occurred. We know that you want the POD as soon as it delivered. So the quicker that we can get that information to you, the better that you will feel as a partner. It's all about collaboration, and we want to understand what your needs are, what your expectations are. We think we have a pretty damn good idea.
Yeah.
However, we want to make sure that we're achieving those expectations and fulfilling those, so we stay in good stead with you.
Yeah. And I think like it's honestly, what are your thoughts on, you know, obviously like book of business reviews happen. Like you're going out there, you're talking to your customers about shipments and everything else. But like my philosophy is always leading in with the fuck ups. Like, hey, we know we did this wrong, this wrong, and this wrong on this shipment. This is our corrective action plan. This is what we're not going to do again. This is what we'll do differently next time. And taking that approach, because it's like, don't ever mask these things. Like, don't hide from any of this stuff. I want people to be extremely upfront about that, because like, man, I remember, I'll never forget this. I walked into a customer's office. It was a newer customer. We were out at their facility. We had moved 50 shipments for him at that point, Adam, and there was 50 rate confirmations on his desk with notes on all of them.
Really?
And we went through everything
Yeah.
at that time. But again, this is the beauty about the evolution of you growing as a sales rep and as a customer sales rep and everything else that's out there, because it's like, you got to take that feedback.
Absolutely.
Because one thing that I think people, it's an oversight to me, Adam, is you can learn from every single conversation you have.
Agreed.
Because sometimes one customer wants it done another way, and you can present that to another customer and it changes our entire fucking operation.
Interesting.
And now you're in the door even deeper with them, because they're like, we've never thought of it that way.
Sure.
Because again, I think at times we think everybody's just got it figured out.
Yeah.
And one of the defining moments for me in my career was bringing up DOT inspection week to a customer, and they're like, what's that?
Yeah.
And I'm like, these guys weren't small either.
Yeah.
And I told them all of this, and they're like, okay, so that makes sense on why rates always increase around this time frame. And I'm like, so nobody's ever brought this up before?
Yeah.
They're like, no, they just increased the prices.
We always talk about educating our customers, and I don't think that really can be overstated.
Yep.
Especially in a market like drayage. And we have customers that, let's say, are from the Midwest that don't have boots on the ground in Los Angeles and Oakland and Savannah. So they absolutely need to know what's going on. They need to know the current state of affairs. And us being an asset-based trucker in so many strategic positions, we're enabling ourselves to give that information so that they can make informed decisions about their supply chain. But I couldn't agree with you more. There is nothing better, I believe, for a relationship and the strength of that relationship than for something to go wrong and you fall on the sword and take personal accountability and take personal responsibility for that, because the majority of people love to be in the spotlight when things are going great.
Yeah.
Who in the hell doesn't love just going, you know what? All those 50 shipments just went perfect. However, when somebody dropped the ball, or there was a human error, or somebody just missed a delivery order, and all of a sudden you got $50,000 in demurrage, somebody has to take accountability for that. And when you bring yourself to the table and you fall on the sword, you take personal accountability. I think something is to be said for that.
No, dude, I agree with that wholeheartedly. And, what's one piece of advice, man? Because again, everybody out here, a lot of people who are going to listen, who are watching this live, listening to this, are going to listen to it on the replay, are like, I want to improve with my customer service. I want to improve my sales approach. Where would you start somebody today, day one?
Email etiquette.
There we go.
Email etiquette, man. It is, think about what your mother and my mother and father taught me when I was a kid. Say, please, thank you, my pleasure.
Yeah.
Just hello, the pleasantries actually give an F. Really care about how somebody's day is going. Empathy. It's very difficult to learn how to be empathetic, but instead of bitching and complaining that you are driving me crazy, maybe as a customer with all the questions that you're asking, flip it around. See what it's like from your point of view, from your perspective. Understand why you're asking what you're asking, and then try to be more empathetic and try to deliver answers and deliver an experience that is just a little bit more wholesome and familial, if that makes sense.
Yeah, no, it makes perfect sense. And I think that's what we need to bring back into it, because again, it's like in a world of, it's just easy to copy and paste.
Yes.
When I'm talking, because it's like every time I'm interviewing somebody, Adam, like I want to use your name. Like you're not just like, hey, person I'm talking to. And it's it's the same thing with a sales approach too. Is it's like, hey, Adam, how's your day going, Adam? Bring that personal approach to it. Vitaly brings up a good point. Don't call him bro. But you know what I mean though, man? Because it's like, to me, it's like, it is about personalizing that. It's about delivering that message to them to where it's like, you know what? Maybe you're the one email that snaps them out of something.
Absolutely.
You know,
I couldn't agree more. It really is about the human element. And that's why we have a chief heart officer. Dr. Dion Kress does an absolutely great job of getting everybody's eyes open that it's not really about the business. It's about the relationship.
Yes.
It's about the person. I want to make your day better. At PortX, when we started, Brian Kempesty, my CEO, founded upon, we want to make lives better. And people were like, you're a freaking trucking company. What the hell are you talking about?
Yeah.
And when we bring people into our team, when we operate on a day-to-day basis, my job and my goal is to make your day better.
Yeah.
I really want to enjoy my job. I really want to enjoy my day-to-day. And I want you to enjoy your interaction with me.
Yeah, no, and that's exactly it. Is it's like, I mean, how do you get out there? Patrick, we'll get you this. We'll answer this here in a second. But it's like, how do you get out there? And really, I want people to use their own personal experiences into this. I mean, Vitaly brings up a good point here about 2 to 3 bullet points and then the structure of the email. How you read your emails, Adam. If you see a big bulky one, what are you doing? Shelving that one, right? At least that's what I do. Depending on who it's from. If it's from my wife and it's bulky, I am reading that one. But that's a different story.
Just those long text messages that you get.
And then I write K.
Got it. But reading emails thoroughly.
Yes.
Really reading emails thoroughly. You know what I couldn't stand when I was on the brokerage end and I would ask a trucker, so what time do you think your driver's going to get at port after he pulls the box? How long do you think it's going to take to delivery? You know, can you make sure that you give me the POD and the final charges after? And then I get K. You're like, wait a second, you didn't answer any of those questions. So what we do is we tell our people, read each email thoroughly, make sure that you are answering each and every question, address their needs, wants, and desires.
Yes, absolutely, man. Adam, thank you so much for joining. That was a quick 20 minutes, but
wow,
yeah,
that's
man.
20 minutes?
That was 20 minutes.
Whoa.
Dude. How does anybody find out more about you, PortX? How do they contact you?
Absolutely. So you can go to portxlogistics.com. You can always email me, adam@portxlogistics.com, and come join the revolution.
I love it. Adam, thank you so much for joining me.
Pleasure.
I appreciate it. Have a good one, man.
Take it easy.
And then, we're going to keep rolling here. I got my next guest coming up right now, Nick, and we're going to start breaking some other stuff down, man. And Patrick, all right, so starting off as an entry-level fleet manager, my thing for you, man, is learn all the small details. All right. Learn literally everything there is about a truck, hours of service, transit times, everything, man. Take your time and study the industry from the ground up. Got to get some shout outs out here. Bob Hazarati, good morning, sir. Good to see you out here. Jesse Griffin, what's up, brother? Good to see you out here. Freight Vana's in the house. Xavier Campos, good morning. It is go time, sir. Good fucking morning, Cody Miller. Matthew Kane, it's going to be a weird next few quarters on all sides, man. You're right. Rick Wooten, what's going on, my man? Let me see here. We got that. All right, Nick, come on in. What's up, my dude?
Morning.
How are you?
Hey,
I don't know if Drew Driscoll's in the audience still. Maybe your boss told him to get back to work. But dude, so introduce yourself to everybody out there, man.
Hey, good morning, everyone. My name is Nick Mowdy. I am in the business development team for Axle Logistics out of Knoxville, Tennessee. First time attendee at JOC Inland Distribution. It's been awesome. Really excited to be here. It's a privilege to be able to represent Axle Logistics. Certainly making a name for ourselves in the market. Forged a lot of great relationships in the last 24 hours.
Love it.
Really get in here quick, in and out, get it done.
Dude, I love it, man. But I mean, because I had Sean McLeod on he was on the podcast a couple weeks back. And dude, it's like, I got excited. Like, I mean, just talking to Sean, like, obviously we've been in the industry for a long time. And like, I can just tell that Sean was trained, like we were trained the exact same way. And I know that that's what he's applying over with you guys at Axle. And it's like, there's very few people that I talk to that I'm like, all right, I'm ready to fucking go pick up and start cold calling. And Sean, after that conversation with Sean, that was one of them. I'm like, dude, let's go fucking sell right now.
Yeah. It's an incredible environment, super collaborative. The culture from the top down since day one, almost 11 years in authority. We've stayed consistent. We've maintained our composure. We're not reinventing the wheel. I think at the end of the day, it's a built-in give a damn. Everyone shows up, they show out. We understand, what our role is in a shipper's network as an extension of carriers. We are there as a service provider. So, really divesting out of our own success first to make sure that they are fluid, they are getting things that they need to be successful. And, we're truly making an impact on the network. I think it's easy for a lot of folks in our vertical as a broker to cast a wide net, say, hey, we can do it all. But we've always been intentional, calculated, really like a really solid understanding of what, our strengths are as a carrier partner. And I mean, it's just been huge. Our growth is a testament to that model from day one. It's been sustainable, calculated, organic, and we're proud of what we built.
Absolutely, man. So here we are. We're at the JOC and then conference. This is one of those times where like we get to interact with shippers. We get to hear direct feedback from them on what's going on out there. Like, what's something that stuck out to you, and how are you going to take that back and apply it? Because obviously we're coming up on Q4 here. We're coming up on peak season. Yeah. There's a lot of uncertainty in the market. Well, I mean, frankly, harsh reality, there's a lot of fucking uncertainty in the freight market. But with everything that you've learned so far at the Inland Distribution Conference, man, how are you going to take this back and apply it to your existing customers and your team and everything?
Yeah. Well, so first and foremost, it's honestly been refreshing to see some of these enterprise shippers, be transparent about some of the challenges that they're experiencing in their market, whether it's raw materials, certain networks, certain regions. For all of us in the sales space, business development, we live behind screens. We live on the phones, and you make a phone call. Nobody's got any problems, especially in a market like today. Everything's getting covered. It's about a value add, what you bring to the table, what problems you can solve. Being very direct and intentional. Again, using that word again, and smart about the approach. So, I mean, that's one thing because again, everyone's saying they don't have problems, but so that's one piece of it. But this whole conference has been very comprehensive, from contracting, bilateral partnerships, mutually beneficial agreements, procurement phases, the evolution of that. It's a lot. I mean, in a great way. We've really taken a lot of knowledge in a short period of time. But again, I think back at Axle, we always talk about that, being direct, smart about what we're bidding, what we're pricing. We truly own the carrier relationships. When we put something on paper, we've always honored our commitment. We've not been that carrier that goes back and makes adjustments on the back end, because it's about the success of the customer first. Yeah. So, continuing that momentum, it's probably not the answer you want, but it's just, reinforcing our strategy to put the customer first and have really great dialogue, apply, some of the stuff we've learned from procurement, bid cycles and that sort of thing. And just continue that growth.
So how are you how are you personally going to attack Q4 this year? Because, with the market kind of being what it is right now, which harsh reality, you guys, this is a normal freight market. This is how things operate. But like, what have you learned the most over these last couple years when you're coming in and it's high? And Adam and I were talking about this. Like, anybody's a fucking all-star when it's easy.
Yep.
But it's like when the shit hits the fan, which is really what's happening right now with a lot of things. How you react in these moments and how key is that? Like, what's been kind of your biggest takeaway in kind of going through this market shift?
Everything top to bottom is about relationships. Again, Axle, everybody on our team internally on the 360 side, on the operations side, we own every facet of the buying cycle, the carrier procurement cycle, the bid strategy. So everyone is owning all of those relationships. It's not a perfect formula, but loyalty, can be fleeting. We pride ourselves on establishing really strong relationships with carriers. We're champion of the mom and pops, the mid-sized fleets, the regional. They a lot of times they come to us and say, hey, I just got 6 more trucks. I need some additional volume. And we're able to leverage that, to have strategic discussions with our customers about other areas of interest where they're having challenges. But again, back to the relationship piece, if you're not assimilating this information and then all of the articles, publications, sessions here and presenting that in a tactical way to your customer, you're doing them a disservice.
Yeah.
So you've got to bring it and put it in front of them. You've got to consult them. You've got to educate them. Some are going to react. Some are going to make changes, but that's kind of the ancillary benefit of having, a partner like Axle Logistics is we're not just the mover of the goods. We're bringing ideas to the table. We're bringing creative solutions, whether it's, head haul, back haul opportunities, and again, the loyalty it's not perfect, but when we own every step, customer and carrier relationship, we're able to mitigate some of those swings in the market.
And that's, because to me, man, it's like that's like one of those things that you learn in time, because I think a lot of it, we get in there, we're just like, oh, we just got to call people, right? Like, that's it. That's phone sales. You just call, pick up the phone and dial, smile and dial.
It's
baby.
too easy.
Exactly. But I think like taking that approach though, you need to legitimately change your thought process, because so many people go into it. They're like, oh, how can I save you money? I want to learn about your operation. We don't have that luxury as a broker.
Yeah.
You better know their operation before you dial.
Yeah.
You better know what they're doing or have a very solid base level understanding of what their operation look like, because you can't call somebody and be like, hey, I want to learn about your operation.
Yeah.
The fuck are you talking about?
Absolutely. So that goes into, the additional time that you're willing to put in and invest in research, information, subscriptions that we're all, receiving, publications every day, watching the news, understanding what the market's doing. I think that's great. Generally, if you're waiting for that to come out, you're playing the reactive game.
Yeah.
So we watch the cycles as best as we can, try to bring proactive ideas. But for the most part, we've driven a lot of stability for a lot of our customers. But I've had the unique opportunity. I actually started in this industry just prior to the peak of the pandemic.
Yeah.
So I saw a really loose market in early 2020, flipped really fast. So we saw how, some of those phone conversations shifted pretty quickly. Now we're starting to see a little bit more of that stabilization, self-correction. And, it's a shipper's market, but, we agree. We brought proactive reductions, drove some cost savings early this year before a lot of people started to talk about it. So we're looking at everything long-term, a true partnership. We're not a transactional broker. We truly do want to be fully integrated just in the space that we know we can service exceptionally.
And that's exactly what the approach needs to be, like, again, like we know when markets are softening, we're seeing that, especially like if you're out there sourcing your capacity through a load board, which again, I'm a fan of, but they're a crutch. They're not a necessity.
There's a time and a place for it.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that when we see the market starting to soften up, and I'm never going to say like, don't make money, but if you're going to survive long-term in this industry, you're not going to make $800-900 on every single shipment that's out there.
And if you're doing that, you're not, it's providing a service to it's like, we've said it before. If you put profit in front of customer success, it's going to backfire eventually. It's great, clap, whatever, celebrate. But again, that is not part of the service and a true partnership. And it goes, a minute ago, I said, mutually beneficial, whether it's a contractual agreement or a pricing strategy. It's got to make sense, because otherwise, at the end of the day, we're all replaceable. For
Yes.
a dime a dozen. There's a lot of freight out there. So, what are you doing internally to set yourself apart? It takes a little bit of additional investment of time. Show up early, stay late. Study networks, understand what warehouses are in certain areas that we're already servicing, and be tactical about the approach when we're trying to get an opportunity.
So with you saying you came into the industry late 2019 here, what's your strategy on going after specific freight, like going after a niche market, niche region? How have you found early success in here? Because that's another question that I'm asked a lot is, where do I start? How do I build a book of business? And I'm always about the niche. Like, I think there's so much power in going after specific freight in a specific region, but what did you follow? Like, what worked for you?
Yeah. So honestly, I'm curious as hell about everything. So I'm always reading, trying to understand. I get pretty granular with some of the research that I do. Existing customer networks, who their suppliers are, who their vendors are. Studying certain cities that I understand. Prior to transportation, I spent 15 years in hospitality, made a really strong network of connections. I've been able to relay that. It's always been service first. To be collaborative and genuinely want to help. You got to give a shit about what you're doing at the end of the day, because otherwise you're just like anybody else.
Dude, I got to bring this up because this is like the fourth person who's dropped this in the chat. Rowdy, is that the nickname you got going, or what's the deal here?
You're going back to my early 20s. That's Rowdy Mowdy was my nickname.
Rowdy Mowdy.
College days. Yeah.
All right, I got it. We all have them, man. So, dude, how are you closing out this year, man? We're literally Q4 is starting on fucking Saturday.
Yeah.
What are you doing to end this year on a high note? And then how are you going to ride that through the inevitable downturn of what Q1 is going to be? Because it's that, like, in a normal freight market, which we're in, and I hate fucking even using this. Oh, it's a normal market now, but this is how the market operates, you guys. In Q1, January, mid February is just going to be, it's going to be a lull.
Yeah.
So how are you going to leverage that momentum through Q4 and ride it through that initial lull to start out 23?
Well, going back to our whole model, everything's been about sustainable growth. We started having conversations about this in Q2, understanding you got to be ahead of what the curve is going to do. I mean, no one anticipated this much of a slide in pricing and capacity. In the grand scheme of things, again, it is more of a normal market. But having collaborative conversations, open dialogue, day-to-day conversations with our carriers and customers, understanding what these carriers are doing with their fleets, what they're acquiring from power units and trailers, how we can then apply that to different avenues, different modes, whether it's drop trailer, just getting creative at the end of the day, because the end of the year, it's that December shutdown, it's the holidays, peak season. Yes, it's upon us, but a lot of the peak retail, a lot of that inventory's here.
Yeah,
it's at the ports.
It's true.
It's we're seeing some congestion. That's stabilized. But again, just getting creative, constant conversations, asking questions. That's all we can do. And then apply that to the relationships that we have, and owning every step. We've got vested interest in the success of the carrier and the customer, so we've got to deliver.
No, man, that's great advice, man. I think that's a solid play for anybody out there to really end the year on a high note. But dude, thank you so much for joining me here today.
I always wondered what it was like behind the lights. No marquee, but
yeah, exactly. It'll get a lot better.
It's been fun. I was thrilled that you're here, and I appreciate the opportunity.
Dude, hell yeah, man. I appreciate you joining me. Cool. Thank you so much. Man. Now I got to get my last guest. He's out here socializing and everything else. I'm going to hit him up right now. I'm sure you guys are all out here watching. All right. Let's see. Andre Johnson, he's got, hey, I appreciate you tuning in today, Andre. Drew Driscoll says, hell yeah, he is. I'm waiting for this last guy, and if he doesn't show up here in a couple of seconds, we'll just end the show on that. But again, obviously, we are live from the JOC Inland Conference here in Chicago. And, honestly, you guys, it's been awesome to attend and really learn a lot of this, because like no matter what, you always need to continuously learn from every experience that you have. It doesn't matter that I've been in the industry for 15 years or anything like that. I'm always learning and taking information away from people, because that's what I can apply and implement in my companies and everything else that's out there. And to me, again, get out there and educate you guys, not only through like reading, but like through podcasts and everything else. So you can get out to some conferences and pay attention to what's going on and kind of seeing and getting a real pulse of the industry. Because again, it's like, it's always easier to sit back and talk about something, but when you're in a room full of people who are actually executing every single day in these markets, it brings, I don't want to call it a sense of ease, but it brings a sense of reality into play that like, all right, cool. I'm not the only one who's going through this in particular. And yeah, I think, let me see here. He's out here networking and trying to, yeah, here he's coming. I got a special guest, and we're gonna end the show. He's been a mainstay on the show, but now this is the first time that the Armchair Attorney is here in person.
Oh, wow. Are you excited?
I'm excited.
We're ready to go. Let's do it.
Let's do this.
What are we talking about, Chris?
We're talking about everything, man.
Nice.
We've been talking about Q4 strategy, what we've learned at the JOC Inland Conference here, which is fucking phenomenal.
Absolutely.
It's a solid setup overall. So like you're out here, you're networking, you're meeting a lot of people for the first time. What's your kind of pulse right now about what is going on?
All right. First of all, I am seeing friends that I have not seen in a long time, or people that I have known but never met in real life. And I get to meet them today. I just got finished talking to Gene Bambrick from the Consolidated Chassis Management. This organization manages hundreds of thousands of chassis across the United States. I love supply chain.
He is literally this animated in real life too, you guys. Except for this time, he doesn't have anything to fucking throw.
I need some papers. Will someone please send me a complaint that I can then whip around?
A non-compete. He needs a non-compete to tear down and throw apart and throw out behind him.
I don't like non-competition agreements. I don't like them. If you're watching this right now, 18% of you have signed that document. 90% of you didn't even negotiate it. You know better, and we're going to make you better.
I love it. Dude, I just appreciate you joining. Obviously Matt's been on the show a bunch of times. He's been on my podcast. And this is technically the second time we've actually met in person because we saw each other last night for the first time. And I mean, I think that's the best part is it's running into all these people that I've met for, known for a while now, and now getting to see him in person and everything else, man. So this is fucking awesome.
I remember having you on the program for my own thing.
Yeah.
It was the very first day Armchair Attorney was its own standalone business. And you were actually my very first source of revenue. You bought one of my t-shirts.
I did.
And I told you then, I'm going to tell you again, my problem was I inadvertently knocked up my coworker and I had to fire her because I'm not going to have an employee who's knocked up. I just can't do it. Now, full disclosure, it is my wife and it wasn't one baby, but in fact, two. So
and they're coming up here, man.
Yeah, it was going to be November 19th, but that will come sooner, much sooner, probably.
I love it. But dude, I'm excited for you. And I just wanted to wrap up the show with Matt on here. You guys had to see him. I had to put him in front of the camera. Thank you for everything.
It's great to be here, man.
Yeah.
I'm a huge fan, Chris. I'm a huge fan.
I'm a huge fan of you. I know. It's fucking awesome. Matt gets me ready to run through a fucking wall.
We got to get pumped. This is exciting stuff. Thank you for having me on, man. I love it.
Absolutely, you guys. Well, that's it for today, you guys. The Freight Coach Morning Show, the top morning show in transportation, coming to you live every single weekday, 8:30 a.m. Pacific, 10:30 Central. Tomorrow, we will be back in studio, back in Arizona. I'm flying back home tonight. We'll be back tomorrow to break down some industry headlines for you. I appreciate you guys all so much, and we'll be talking to you.